Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be showing you how to land on the highway. Now there's a bunch of things you need to be considering about when you're landing on a motor expressway or highway, the Autobahn, or any nice lovely piece of road here. And the first thing is we have to know that in the real world we have light poles, we have big green signs which tell you what exit we're on, we have overpasses, underpasses, all sorts of nastiness. We have roads that are not well kept and pretty much everything along those lines. The good news though is that several of them are very, very long. Some of them could be very, very wide. And of course people are always asking, what about traffic? What's traffic going to do? The good news about traffic is traffic, when we land on the proper side of the highway, which is with traffic, by the way, things get out of our way, number one. Things in front of us will never see us land. Things that will be behind us, of course, will jam on the brakes as soon as they see us sweep overhead. You've got to remember that our approach speed of 70 knots is substantially faster than typical traffic, especially on our Route 95 here in lovely Connecticut. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this process started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by reaching down here. I'm going to go ahead and kill the fuel. And the first thing we want to do is always go ahead and look around. We have 1,600 feet here, so we have plenty of room. And that lovely Route 95 off my left is looking pretty darn good. What we want to do now is we want to slowly circle our way down. I'm going to go ahead and isolate that so we don't have to listen to it over and over again. Again, I'm acknowledging the warning. We have plenty of time to try to restart the engine. We'd run through our checklists here. I confirm that the problem with the engine is that the fuel will shut off. Sigh. This is what happens when you let kids play with buttons. But it's too late. We're going to go ahead and have to put this thing on the ground our own way, kind of a thing like that. So looking out the ways, looks like Route 95 is going to be our best bet. Our wind is coming out of the east today, which makes it a little bit easier. We always want to land into the wind on the side of the highway. And when we do land, we want to make sure we land in the center of the lane of the particular place we're going. The last thing, of course, they tell you to do is you want to hit the ground as slowly as possible, which is often very contradictory. So one of the things I'm not doing right now is I'm intentionally keeping the plane slower than its best glide speed. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm trying to get myself a little bit of room so I can swing into a base turn onto our landing here. That's a very long straight part of the highway right there, so I'm going to go ahead and use that as my point. Again, we're trying to keep it nice and slow. I've got plenty of highway underneath me. Departing now would be pretty embarrassing, especially since we don't have an engine to help us out. And that's looking pretty darn good. Now, here's the mistake everybody makes. They look out the window and they're sitting there going, I've got plenty of room here. That section of highway that I was just going to land on, I'm having no problem with. But the problem is, and one of the reasons I chose this plane today is because it is a fantastic wing. And the wing is so good that even though I'm sitting here in slow flight, I'm still only losing 500 feet per minute on this. Now, for those of you who do the math real quick, you'll notice the local altitude here, of course, is relatively high. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let the nose come down. Now you can see Sikorsky right there with that lovely little tiny helipad. That's the 3-1 right there. And I'm going to go ahead and give myself some S-turns. And all I'm trying to do is keep my speed down here. I don't want to go too fast. And I really, really don't want to go slow because that will mean departure for us. Go ahead and do one of those. And again, I'm just doing some nice gentle S-turns, keeping my speed as down as possible. And you can see here, we're getting really close to the highway. I'll go ahead and pull ourselves just a little bit out there. Just a little bit out there. And now we can get ready for our landing approach. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the middle of the highway, and in flight sim, of course, you have to keep in mind that it's not going to be a very even landing. We want to try to settle down very gently and keep our nose up, almost as if we're doing a soft field landing here. What do you go ahead and grate until everything settles? And again, flight sim, the road's going to be pretty uneven, and I'm just going to slowly go ahead and bring everything to a complete stop here. When you do this, of course, in the real world, watch your wingtips, because your wingtips will go smacking right into all those light poles. But what I'm going to try to do is prevent traffic problems by basically pulling myself off the highway as best I can here, so that I can be a little bit nicer to the folks around me for that particular purpose. Now, one of the things, of course, that I've read before, which I thought was very interesting, is are you supposed to go ahead and, if you can restart the engine, is it a good idea to take off from a highway? And it's generally recommended not to attempt to take off from the highway. If you're in a situation where this occurred, it is usually safer, of course, to back up traffic and do the best you can to get yourself off. Like you can see, traffic can still get around me, but again, we don't want to interfere with people on the other side of the highway as well, because that could be pretty darn bad too. But other than that, enjoy.